Welcome to the Bucs Gambling Show on the internet. This is the home of the money pick. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. NFL Week 6 player props. And this is by viewer request. We did one a long time ago. What was it, like 2021? We're back. They have been a gravy train this year on Patreon. So I'm going to give you guys some ideas. Let's get this money. Let's get to the first game. We're going to London. We got the Chicago Bears against the Jacksonville Jags. The first one I'm going with is DeAndre Swift under 56.5, and his unders have been slamming the whole year. Yes, last week he was absolutely phenomenal against the Panthers, but look at how many injuries the Panthers had in the spine defensive tackle area of their defense. I think this Jags defense does maybe one thing well. They're very good in their run fits, and I think they'll be steadfast, and I think they'll stop Swift. And a big part of this game, I think, is about Caleb Williams making plays. Eventually, he's going to have to come good, and they're going to stop Swift this game. Another one I like, I want to trigger you to bet it because it's awful low. Look at Gabe Davis. He's under 31.5 receiving yards. And listen, I'm not telling anyone to run home and bet this, but one thing I am worried about, firstly, is his body language. Secondly, I always felt like he was overrated. Thirdly, he's just not playing good football right now. I don't know if you guys saw some of the plays in the Colts game. If you did see that, you'll know where I'm going at. So I got Gabe Davis under 31.5. And I really think this Jags front seven stops Swift. We're going to go to the Beltway. We got the Washington Commanders against the Ravens, and everyone wants to talk about Jaden, and I get it. Everyone wants to talk about Lamar, and I completely get it. But I'm going to go Zay Flowers over 54.5. And I was looking at this one Monday on Discord. Coop sent it to me, and I was shocked it didn't move. I like this one up to 60.5, 61.5. And Zay Flowers is the type of guy who can get this in one catch. And I think he's criminally underrated. And if you look at these other targets, you got the two good tight ends. But outside of Zay Flowers, what do you have? Like, you have Bateman, and that's not an awful lot. And I also think, I get why people are questioning the game flow, because obviously we think the Ravens want to go more run heavy with Henry, especially with him playing better the last 3 weeks. But man, I think the Commanders are stout in the interior. I think the way to attack them is play action, get vertical on the secondary. I still think the Commanders are one of the worst secondaries in the league, and I think Zay Flowers will prove that. And it's just a matter of him getting the volume. But that's why we're not going over under catches. I like the over 54.5 for Zay Flowers. This is probably my favorite of the week. Let's get to the Texans going up to Foxborough. We don't have a lot of props out for the Patriots, but I think this is Tank Dell's day. I'm going over the 56. Tank Dell enjoyers, we've been waiting a long time to see him have a breakout game. And I think without Nico Collins, I think this is his time to run. I also like Dalton Schultz over 30.5. I think that's criminally low for a player of his high standards in this league. But the Tank Dell one is the one I want you guys to really focus on. Am I the only one? I get Christian Gonzalez is an absolute phenom at corner. But am I the only one who thinks this Patriots defense is overrated? You take Jabril Peppers out of the equation. Where's the pass rush going to come from? Are there any dynamic players that can win battles up front? And I think we're going to see Stroud have a lot of time. And I think this is Tank Dell's day to shine. So I want everyone to focus on the Tank Dell over 56. Let's go to New Orleans. Let's get the Bucs and Saints. Man, I like Godwin over 63.5. I get it. It's high. Lattimore against Mike Evans. We know that rivalry normally neutralizes Mike Evans and might even get him thrown out of the game. I really like the Godwin. That's the one I want you guys focusing on. I think Godwin is due for a breakout game, kind of like Tank Dell, flying under the radar. And I also want just to dampen some people's spirits. Like, everyone likes the K-Dot in 34 and a half receiving yards. I'm going under on that. I actually really like that. I feel like the Saints defense is very good in that area. Someone's going to throw out the stats with tight ends against the Saints. Man, I just think the Saints will be able to deal with that. Their defense has been very, very good this year. And I'm going to go throw one like kind of out of the loop here. And maybe it's me feeling too much of a vibe. Am I the only one who thinks Spencer Rattler goes over the 194 and a half? Like, we got a Bucs secondary that can't seem to cover anyone. We got a Bucs pass rush that needs to blitz to generate pressure. And then am I the only one who was impressed that Spencer Rattler actually put his head down and got to work and actually won this job? I mean, because going into last week's game, wasn't he third string quarterback? We didn't even have any hint about him coming into that Chiefs game when Carr got injured. I think Rattler has a big day, and the more I'm not saying he's going to have a big day like 300 yards and he pulls an upset. I just think Rattler is going to be very, very competitive. And I like this matchup against the Bucs defense. I think we see a Bucs defense in free-for-all. So give me Godwin. I like the odd and under, and I also like Rattler to get sneaky. I think he gets like 220, man. Let's go to Mile High. Let's go to the Chargers against the Broncos. We don't have a lot of props out, so I had to dig for this one. But I'm going Dobbins over 57 and a half. Firstly, Dobbins been phenomenal this year. Secondly, you know he's going to get volume. We know the Chargers are going to run it an awful lot. Thirdly, it looks like this Chargers offensive line will come into this game healthy. And fourthly, I saw the Raiders running it at will the first half against the Broncos. The problem was Minshew sailing a pick six to Surtain that completely spiraled the game flow out of control. But if the game flow stays normal here, I think we're going to see a steady dose of Dobbins. I like him up to 64 and a half. Like, I also like the Bo Nix unders, but I don't want anyone betting it or rolling to the bank to bet it because I am a little bit worried about the game flow. With Bo Nix and some of these Broncos games, they're just not following a pattern, a game flow that we can predict. So look at those Bo Nix unders, man. Let's go to Carolina, Falcons and Panthers. I got one on this. Like, I know everyone wants to cream Bijan and get Algiers, get the over rushing yards because this Panthers front seven is completely banged up. But give me Chuba Hubbard. Is there a running back in this league playing more consistent ball than him? Is there an offensive line in this league that is more underrated than the Panthers? I like Chuba Hubbard over the 60 and a half. And I honestly, man, without Thielen back in this equation, like I know you got Leggett, I know you got Thompson, and I know the Panthers will play better this week on offense. But if the Panthers don't run the ball, it's going to be another laugher. And I think they get run first in this game. Give me Hubbard over 60 and a half. And last game I want to focus on is Cards against Packers. I like the Marvin Harrison under, but some books don't have the lines out, so you guys need to look at that Saturday morning. That's normally why I post the props Saturday morning on Patreon. But give me Tucker Kraft, the tight end for the Packers, over 38 and a half. I think he's playing good. I think he's getting better every week. I think Jordan Love trusts him, and I think this Cardinals defense outside of Budda Baker, we're not seeing a lot of difference makers. So I absolutely love the Kraft over 38 and a half. But here's an under I absolutely love. Give me Romeo Doubs under the 47 and a half. Firstly, are we so sure he's going to get volume? Secondly, is he even that good? Thirdly, with what happened last week, pretty much him quitting on the team and crying about targets, even though he was like second on the team in targets. And how many targets do you expect to get when Malik Willis was starting 2 games? I think Dobbs is going to be phased out of this. Like, I don't think this is going to be, let's bring him back into the fold like a T.O. Philadelphia Eagles situation. And you're going to see like 11 balls pumped to him. I don't think we're going to see that. I'm going under the 47 and a half for Romeo Doubs. I absolutely love this one. Some others I'm thinking about, Levis over passing yards. Like, I get it. No one likes Levis, but turnovers do not factor in this equation. And we're looking at a Colts defense that stinks. If you want to get some action on that Lions-Cowboys game, I think it's going to be more of a Montgomery game than a Gibbs game. And then not a lot of props out for the Steelers-Raiders right now. But one I like is Freiermuth over the 30.5 receiving yards. When I'm looking at Freiermuth, I'm looking at a guy who's consistent. I'm looking at a guy who's absolutely necessary for the Steelers offense to even be some sort of functioning entity. And also, I'm looking at George Pickens. Like, we're seeing this George Pickens situation, and it is not pretty, my friends. So eventually someone has to get fed the ball. Like, you got Austin, you got other periphery options like Van Jefferson, but I'll put my stake on Freiermuth. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Let's get this money. I hope everyone has a great NFL Week 6.